two parts. We need to draw a circle graph here. We also need to find out the percents that relate to these degrees right here for each category. Let's find the percents first. My favorite way of solving this is using a proportion. It helps me keep track of the information and find out what I want to know. So, for example, 50% in 180 degrees. Well, all of the degrees have to be out of a circle, or 360 degrees. When you see 180 degrees written, that's 180 out of 360, and that's going to equal 50%. The way you know that is because if we look at these two fractions, they're equivalent. 50 is 1/2 of 100, 180 is 1/2 of 360, they're equal. You can also think that to go from 100 to 360, I have to multiply by 3.6. Same thing is true here. 50 times 3.6 does give me 180, so it's proportional. To figure out for 90 degrees what to do, I can say, well, 90 degrees is out of 360. What does that equal out of 100? And this is where I find the proportions to be particularly useful to keep track of what's missing. I want to know what the percent is. They give us the degrees. So 90 is 1/4 of 360 because 90 times 4 is 360. So here, our missing number is going to have the same relationship to 100 that 90 has to 360. That's a proportional relationship. So we have to find that number. What number times 4 gives me 100? And I could say, well, 100 divided by 4 gives me 25. And that means that 25 times 4 gives me 100. So the answer is 25 out of 100, which is 25%. 54 degrees is not as friendly, but we can still figure it out. 54 out of 360 has to equal something out of 100 because we're trying to find percents. I'm going to use the other relationship I talked about, which is that 100 times 3.6 gives me 360. So 50 times 3.6 has to give me 180. So 100 times 3.6 here also gives me 360. So I have to find the number up here times 3.6 that gives me 54. So what number times 3.6 equals 54? Well, 54 divided by 3.6 will give me that missing number. And we can approximate this and estimate it in many different ways. We can use the long division, but I feel like I just want to use a calculator here to get past this part of the problem and not get too much into the decimal division or how to do this. So anyway, so 54 divided by 3.6 is 15. And you can check by multiplying 3.6 by 15 to get 54, so that's 15%. And now the last is nice because I don't need to actually calculate anything here. We know that all the percents are going to add up to 100, right? 50 plus 25 plus 15 plus something needs to give me 100%. So 50 and 25 is 75. And 15 more is 90. So x has to be 10%. So those are my percents. Now let's graph this information on a circle graph. This is our information right here. So if we pull up a circle graph, we'd have a protractor and a circle, and this information right here. I'll leave that right there. So now the protractor, we get to draw a 180 degree angle first. That's nice and easy to do. To draw a 180 degree angle, we just draw a line through the center of the circle. You grab the ruler, or you can use the end of the protractor. Any line, any diameter through the center, or any line through the center from one end to the other gives you a 180 degree chunk of the circle. And you want to label. This is blue, it's 180 degrees. The yellow piece is 90 degrees. So what I would do is take my protractor and center it on the middle of the circle. Oops. Just like this, and then just turn the protractor until I reach the line I just drew. Alright, almost there. There we go. As close as you can. A little bit off, but I think that's okay. Tilt it. There it is. Okay, as close as you can get. So now I've lined that up, and there are two numbered tracks. I'm going to open my angle this way. So I want to use the outer numbered track because it starts at 0. So 0, 10, 20, I'm opening that way. I could use the inner track and count backwards to 90, but I just feel more comfortable counting up. So 90 degrees is right here. Now the way I use a protractor to mark that is by putting a dot here. And then I take the protractor and turn it and use this bottom part as a ruler to connect my center to that dot. Because now I'm trying to extend that line and get that part of the circle. And again, you want to be as accurate as possible. As soon as you have a bunch of little mistakes will add up to angles that are more than 2 degrees off, and the graph won't look right. So we connect that with our ruler, and we label. This is yellow, or 90 degrees. And now I keep doing this process where I line my protractor up with the middle and make sure I'm building off of the last line I drew, right there. And now I have to draw 54 degrees. So from here I read the outer track, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, and then these hash marks right here are halfway points, so 54 is about there. Put a dot, take the protractor, and now use that protractor as a ruler to connect the center to that dot, draw through that dot to the outer edge of the circle, and we've got our next angle. And then actually we're done using the protractor for a while. Because we can check with the protractor, but we don't have to draw any more angles. And I think you'll see why. So connect a line from the center through that point to the outer edge of the circle. And I'm going to label that. That was red, or 54 degrees. And now the last piece, again, we don't need to use the protractor because it's the last angle. It's the 36-degree angle for green, so it's green or 36 degrees. But what I would use the protractor for is just to check, to make sure that it actually does measure up. So I'm going to line the center with the center of the circle. Oops. And line up my 0 line with the last line I drew. And you can see here is the angle. From here all the way to here, it's about 37 degrees, pretty close to the mark. So that works out nicely. And the last thing I want to do is just get rid of this and title it. I think it's the colors chosen by, what was this problem about? Let's take a look. It was about different color notebooks for different projects. So here, I mean, you could just write color notebooks used by students. It's not even an efficient title, but as long as the title relates to the problem, you're set. So title, labels, and angles, and that's a simple graph. Hope that helps.